it's Walt Disney's final days.
Oh.
But I mean, I don't know much about him, so I wanted to watch the video. So
No, that's fine.
I'll share. That's sad, but I feel kind of terrible for showing it. We're never supposed to. He never dies, right?
No.
Never in our eyes. All right, let's see here. Optimize screen for video sharing. Yay. All right. So it's not very long, but there you go. It's like oldie 50, 80 millimeter, whatever that old timey camera is. I think that's Lily, no?
Really?
I don't know, to be honest. Maybe that's Diane. Who knows? It's probably Diane.
Yeah, because she looked pretty young.
I don't really know any of the. I'm sure. No,
Oh yeah, because Walt had his first grandkid when Disney was supposed to open.
All right, so let's see. Chapter 12, How to Be Like Walt. The pocket knife story was a great allegory to the older brother relationship of Walt and Roy. Despite the huge fights between Walt and Roy over the ownership and compensation of Walt and Wed and Retlaw, it is great to see Roy storm in to confront the lawyers and once again defend his brother. I don't know if you remember, the pocket knife story was where, like, I think Walt had a pocket knife and then Roy took it from him and said, "You're not old enough to have it, but I'll take that from you."
Yeah. Walt found it and Roy was like, "Nope."
And then now it's mine, so I'll be using this instead. So, poor Walt. So that's kind of a great. The rest of their life is going to be kind of like that. I did love the peace pipe that Walt gave Roy. I definitely think that would have made me forget the fight as well. The World's Fair. So I love to hear about the Lincoln animatronic. That's my favorite thing at Disney that I think is so underrated. People never go in there, and it's great. Great air conditioning would help you right now. But it definitely is really cool how you got the actor to give such a compelling performance by having everybody, like, at the last take, like, it was like some teens amount of take, 15, 20 amounts of takes, and he had him everybody sing the Battle Hymn of the Republic, and so his voice is almost gone, and it's the end of the day, but he's fired up by this Battle Hymn of the Republic, everybody just saying, and he gives the best take. And if you've ever seen that show, it's amazing, and he just the way the voice actor gives the performance is so emotional that I definitely can see now where that comes from. And I literally drag everybody I can in to see it. So if we ever go together, I'll drag you in too. It's great. Have you ever seen it?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you should go.
I know, I need to.
And the animatronic is like their most advanced one. It's like the number 9 or whatever. Wow. And you can literally see him stop for breath.
That's cool.
And it's crazy. And I'm just like, wow. And then once when he has to get up, he has to push off of the chair like a real person would do. He doesn't just like sit up like a robot.
Yeah.
Just like push off the chair. And yeah, it's pretty amazing. I don't know. I'm kind of a fanboy of it.
I saw
the other three attractions that they bring to the fair are pretty good. Also, something called Small Worlds there as well. I don't know. People like that. Mary Poppins was the next thing we talked about. So we all have what is that movie called again with about Mary Poppins and Walt Disney?
Oh
gosh, that's such a good one too.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, with P.L. Travers, she's in the movie, and it's about her youth and how the story comes to be.
Yeah, I remember seeing it, but I never watched it.
Oh, you should. It's so good.
Yeah.
They have some really great actors in it too. I'm looking it up right now just to find out. Mary Poppins. We'll just do that. Behind the scenes. I don't know. What was it called? Behind the scenes.
I think it had something with Walt in the title, didn't it?
Becoming Walt, isn't it?
No, that's a different one, isn't it?
There's a Becoming Walt, isn't there?
Yeah.
Ooh, you know what? I'll type in P.L. Travers story. No, I don't know if that'll work. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not able to find it either, but it's so good. Movie. Ooh, I know what to do. Tom Hanks. Mary Poppins. That's what I'll do.
Ah.
That'll get us there.
Yeah.
Saving Mr. Banks. Ha!
That's what it is.
Yeah, so it's Tom Hanks and what is her name again? Emma Thompson. There you go, as P.L. Travers.
Yes.
And they do a lot of the stuff we hear about in the book, including the scenes with the Sherman brothers are also in there.
Oh,
And
cool.
they perform the song, sort of ad-lib it and sort of figure it out, just kind of like they do in they talk about in this book. And I definitely recommend it, Saving Mr. Banks. I'm probably going to watch it again, just having reread this part.
Okay. I'll look it out.
So, despite the film being widely over budget, for once in everybody's life, nobody was unhappy. Everybody, I guess, at this point, had learned their lesson about Walt, that he was probably going to earn the money back. I did find it interesting. I think the movie sort of portrays some of this, that it took 17 years to convince P.L. Travers to give them the rights to it, but only if it wasn't a cartoon, which of course we learned that Walt gets around that by making some of it a cartoon. Oh, tricky Walt. So and then Dick Van Dyke is in the movie, the original Mary Poppins movie, and one of my top 10 actors of all time. Love him. So, certainly a great role for him. His accent's not great, but other than that, it's a great role. And then I felt a bit bad for P.L. Travers when she asked when they would be cutting the film after it had premiered. Poor lady, she didn't understand the film industry. And of course, they sort of portray that at the end of Saving Mr. Banks. Also, they show her crying, like not happy at all during the premiere, which she wasn't, obviously. So then we went on to Project X, which we talk about all the time. It's called Walt Disney World. I didn't know that Orlando was one of the last four choices, but that the Interstate 4 pretty much changed, made it the primary choice when they just found out that they were going to be building interstate right by it. There was a couple of different. I didn't write down the other three, but there was like the fourth choice. Do you remember any of the other three?
Ocelia or something. Sorry with the O. It's like a weird word. OC something.
Yeah, they were
and there's like a beach town too.
Yeah, it was a beach town. I remember that. It was like Palm Beach, somewhere like that. Anyways,
yeah.
And then Mary Poppins gave the income for that money, gave them the money to buy up all the land. So we always see Walt's taking pretty much all of his profits and reinvesting it in the company, and different people, different CEOs of our company will do that as well, and some obviously won't. But we see that that's obviously always Walt's tactic, is to invest all the money and profit into it. Jungle Book. I love that Walt can take a story like the Jungle Book and distill it into an enjoyable Disney movie, because I've read the source material for that a little bit, and boy, is it not the same. It's very racist and horrible, and what he did with it was great. So I was very, very like that a lot. His last movie was the Jungle Book, the last one he really worked on. So Walt's version of Epcot is vastly different from what it actually comes to be. I hear about the version of that Walt wants to bring all the time, and it's like this utopian city. I just don't think it's going to ever work. Maybe if Walt had been alive to run it, it might have worked, but it's certainly not going to work without anybody but Walt. So what they ended up doing with Epcot, I think, is what is the best. I've said many times, it's my favorite park of Walt Disney World. So I am obviously very impassioned about it, but I don't imagine, I just wouldn't want to go visit a city. So there you go. Maybe we're all ended up being better off because it didn't come to be. So my favorite quote here was, "We don't have Walt anymore, and Mickey is the closest thing to Walt we have left." That was Roy during the dedication speech of Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom. I think it's very sweet here too. Roy comes out of retirement, or doesn't go to retirement, just to kind of finish things up for his brother, who Roy and him, despite having a sort of a tumultuous relationship, obviously have a lot of love for each other. And I think the author is a little hard on the successors of Walt, as maybe even with Walt, I don't think that Epcot would have been well. So he sort of says, I can't believe the successors didn't build Walt's dream, but I just can't imagine that working out. And we had 2 lessons: build complementary partnerships, and the second was stay focused. Perseverance is an important leadership trait. And I can't tell you how important perseverance has been in my leadership journey. Um, Obviously mixed with a little bit of common sense, right? Because we don't want to be perseverant in stupid things also. All of Walt's brothers and sisters have passed on. Herbert died before him. Raymond died in 1989 and Ruth in 1995. Wow, I didn't know they died that late. On December 15, 1997, 31 years to the day of Walt's death, Lily suffered a fatal stroke and died peacefully on the following. Wow, that's crazy. Oh, and there's his favorite thing, the train. That's so sad. Why did I share that? All right. So what did you get out of it? I mean, it was kind of a heartbreaking chapter, honestly.
Yeah, well, I'll do a sign, even though it's just us.
Yeah, I'm going to post it so people watch it.
Woo! And so the sign for this week, I was going to do teamwork. And so it's actually 2 signs put together to make one word. So you do 2 T's, put them together and do a circle. That's team, because it's like encircling a group. And then work.
It starts here?
Huh?
It starts here?
Yeah. It starts like here and then goes around. So team.
Oh, I like that one, actually.
Yeah, and then work, you kind of have 2 S's, and you go like that. So that's work. So team, and then work. So you have your 2 S shapes, and this is your base, and then you move it across like that. So teamwork.
I will practice that one.
I know, it's a little complicated. So for this chapter, it really makes you think, like, what would have happened if Walt was still here? Because I think, yes, the city wouldn't have been something to visit, but I think it would have been an interesting place to experiment different solutions to things, especially with how well that he does problem solving. Like, even with the monorail, when he was talking about, that was the previous chapter. So the monorail, how the German engineers were like, no, it's not going to work. Don't do it. And he's like, we already did it and we solved all the problems. Like, we already
worked. Yeah.
We got it. So I think it would have been really interesting to see how Walt and his Imagineers solved some huge crisis problems of our world, trying to make his perfect little utopia. I don't know how successful it would have been. I do think Walt would have been the one to make it successful, but I really think he could have solved a lot of problems that we face today if he had still been around to experiment and build this prototype that he wanted. So that would.
Fortunately for us, everything's perfect and we don't need anything big.
Yeah, we're fine.
If I could only leave my house without dying from a pandemic.
Right? It's fine. And, overheating the earth and global warming and all that.
Maybe you're right. Maybe he should have built the city. Damn it. Now that I'm thinking about it, you're right. Like there's a lot of problems.
Yeah, because I don't think it was ever something he wanted people to like visit. I think it was somewhere he wanted innovation and people to live their best lives. And the fact that he wanted everyone who was in the city to have to work, like, you can't be retired, like, you have to be working, there can't be cars. I think it would have helped solve some of our transit problems, some of our overpopulation and pollution. He would have found interesting ways to help that along. Who knows if it would have worked on a large scale or with our large cities with all of their problems, or if it would have just worked in utopia. But it would have been interesting to see what had happened. So I found that interesting. And I really liked this quote from Ken Anakin, who I think was a director. He was talking about Walt, and he said, his grand obsession was simply to bring happiness to others. That was his total focus. It made Walt Disney who he was. And I think it was really interesting how he distilled Walt's passion down to just bringing happiness and making the world a better place through that. Because he is a very passionate man, but he had so many passions. And when you really look at it, it was all around that central idea of bringing happiness to people and trying to help solve problems to make people happy in their lives easier. And that's how his whole life happened. That's how all of his passions created. He made movies to make people happy. He helped the war effort to help bring peace and help the American people during crazy times. He built Disneyland, so he had a clean place for parents and kids to go and spend time together. He wanted to build Epcot so that people would be happy and live better, more fulfilling lives. And that all came from the idea of just making people happy, which I think is such a cool idea and such an easy way to live your own life, of deciding, okay, so am I going to do this today? And make these people happy, or am I going to do this today and it makes no one happy, including myself? So just making those little choices to make more happiness than less can kind of help you be more like Walt. And that's what I took.
No, I love that so much. I just think that it's an interesting idea. I mean, people said Disneyland would never work, and then
Yeah.
of course we'll make it work. So, I mean, again, he was talking about like he had gone and done his research too. He had looked at the cities that existed and talked to city planners and urban planners.
Yeah. And I think Epcot, the way that we know it, would have happened eventually, because that did come from the Imagineers of having a place where you can travel the world and visit all of these places. And he has so much land that I think he would have focused on that city, but also expanded upon Disney World to give the people in the city different experiences. And so I think we probably would have had both.
Yeah, I wonder too, like, was he thinking he could do it so well because he, has this Disneyland where you can go up to an employee and be like, hey, straighten up and, get it together. But then again, like maybe one of the things he could have done, at least to start with, would have been to put his employees in this little city and, we would have been better behaved because, boss man was looking over our shoulder. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I think the number one issue today, of course, would be, income inequality.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's how, you develop the urban areas that don't have any money and then the, suburbs that have all the money. And that's why I wonder how you solve that problem. Yeah, that's the problem's been developed. Even in Disneyland, we've had that problem with people. I don't make enough money and I don't have enough. And how do you solve that? And I wonder how you would have solved that. He probably would have had a innovation that I can't think of even.
I do think he would have gotten frustrated though with the way our political sphere runs.
Yes.
Like I think he would have been like, this is the solution. Like, why don't the politicians understand that this is what we should be doing to help more people? So maybe he would have run for president.
No, yeah. I don't know if he would have. I mean, if he does, it's like kind of like you said though, like he's gonna get frustrated because man, people don't like. I mean, we've seen the attempts at utopian societies all throughout history.
Yeah.
In America, hundreds of them, right? I've tried, hundreds of communities have popped up and failed. I mean, yeah, but none of us have figured it out, right? So I wonder what his solutions would be, though.
Mm-hmm.
It would be interesting. And I mean, like, since it wasn't a or would it have been a money-making venture? Would he have been, giving leases that still had interest on them and things like that? Like, would you have been collecting taxes? Like, I don't know. Or is it like everything else Walt does, where you take all of his money and he makes off of it and put it back in, and maybe it would really be great because the schools would be the best, and the libraries would be the best, and the work sites would be the best. Who knows?
I think that one, and the fact that it was going to be on the Disney World property, I think his goal. I mean, obviously this is speculation, but the parks would help. What Roy was saying, the parks would help fund Epcot, and then that would just be a cycle. So the revenue that came from the parks would go back into the parks, but it would also probably go into the city. And since you can't own the houses, you have to rent them, which is his goal on Epcot. Yeah. Then that would be funding to go into like the schools and stuff like that. So
I was kind of laughing because I think there's a moment, I don't know if it's this chapter or the chapter before, where he walks into the boardroom and he's like, hey, like I have this idea, and everybody's kind of like, ugh, and he's like, screw you guys, I'm done with the board. But I mean, still, you'd have to like at some point pass this through the Disney board and be like, so we're gonna make this neighborhood a city almost that I'm gonna have, and it's gonna have like perfect transportation, and people are gonna live there, and they're gonna be like, whoa, how do we make money off this? And be like, well, not my money, unfortunately. Yeah, it would be. I think about it all the time because they have the little diorama. I think it's in like the People Mover, right, on Tomorrowland, of like the original like, little diorama of like what would have been. I've never done much research on it, but I know like I was gonna have like monorail systems and like like the infrastructure, like all of it would be underground, and so you just go up to the houses, so there wouldn't be like telephone poles and things like that.
And no cars.
Lots of electricity needed, I guess, but maybe you could do that. I don't know.
But like there would be no cars. The cars would, you can only use them outside of the city.
They have little golf cart communities in Florida right now that do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have this huge one. It's called, there's a name for it. It's like a retirement community. It's huge. It's miles and miles long, and they can only use golf carts inside of the community. And you have to like park your stuff in a parking lot and drive your cart to that to go other places. I don't know the name of it, but it's a politically charged one, especially right now. But yeah, I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just it couldn't have worked without Walt. Like I couldn't. None of us in the company right now could. I don't think I could build that what he wanted.
No.
Because we don't barely know what he wanted, honestly. Like I think that's my question. Like, what was his end goal?